Welcome to Strata. I'm Glenn.
And I'm Brandon. Welcome to the Minds on Muscle podcast. Hey everyone, this is Brandon from the Minds on Muscle podcast, and I am here with Mr.
Glenn Owen.
And today we're talking, I like the last name there, that was super formal. I'm really excited about today's episode. This is actually something that I have struggled with my identity, my own personal insecurities, that I think is a great conversation. And I hate saying this, I think every personal trainer and even person of any sort of career probably goes through this kind of identity crisis of, we have been embarrassed to be personal trainers. And it's interesting because, as you guys may know, Canada has been through some insanely strict COVID-19 lockdowns. And as such, it makes it very easy as a not regulated, not essential service to get kind of insecure about your career and think, hey, am I failing? Hey, are there some shortcomings? And maybe even feel embarrassed about being a personal trainer when someone says, hey, Glenn, how come you're not working, but you can go get your dog washed and you can go buy makeup at Sephora at 25% of capacity? It's kind of crazy. In any event, Glenn, let's talk about being embarrassed to be a personal trainer.
Let's do that, Brandon. I feel like most people in our position, in our field of work, at some point in time have felt embarrassed or at least a little uncomfortable to tell somebody they're a personal trainer. And I still do time to time myself. And this comes down to, at least for me, how I think people perceive me as an exercise professional or as a personal trainer. And I think for me, at least, it comes from these interactions that I have with people where I go to parties or I'm meeting people for the first time at social events. And they say to me, oh, hey, what do you do? And I say, oh, I'm a personal trainer. And they say, oh, I exercise, or I love doing exercise. I know all about exercise. And I get, at least for me, I get this personal sensation where it's like, I spend a lot of time studying physiology and anatomy and how to market my business and grow myself in this field. And the reaction I get from people is a direct comparison where it's like, oh, I like exercising, so I probably know just as much about what it is that I do, so to speak. And I guess for me, just to be completely raw, part of me feels, deep down, or at least I did before, almost insulted that I've spent so much time cultivating all this knowledge and information, and because someone else feels like they exercise, they probably know just as much as I do. Now, I totally get that this is my own experience, and this is probably me being in my own head a lot of the times and my own insecurities. But I can't help feeling this way because I think people often think of personal training as something that somebody does when plan A and plan B didn't work out, and now they're on to plan number C. And this for me was never plan number C. This was plan A. And as our colleague Greg Mack said, I burned the ships when I got into this profession. I never went to become a personal trainer with any sort of backup plan, like, oh, well, if this doesn't work, I'll sell mortgages, or I'll go in real estate or go to sales, even though, and I don't mean that like there's anything wrong with those professions. There's also very difficult professions to be in and be successful in. All I mean to say is that this for me means a lot. This is something that I enjoy doing. It's something that I'm very good at. It's something I've invested a lot of time, money, and other resources in. And just to be compared like somebody's picking out apples at a grocery store makes me uncomfortable sometimes.
Yeah, you know what? There's this commodity style viewing of exercise and personal trainers that makes it really tough. You said some interesting things there. And I mean, I hate the idea. I mean, I think it's great that maybe personal training is a second career for some people. And I know a lot of people who have really done a great job with that. But kind of like you said, I think there are a ton of personal trainers that get into becoming a coach or a trainer because plan A failed, right? I didn't become a professional athlete. I didn't make it past the OHL. I'm going to become a trainer or a coach. I didn't make it far in football. My bodybuilding career, my physique didn't take me as far as I want. So now I got to start making some money. So now I'm going to become an online coach. Hey, I'm done being a mom. My kids have left the house. I'm going to become a trainer now. Now, none of those are bad things, but I do think that it is like a plan B option in some cases, which has some perspective and, this anchoring visualization around that, which is a bummer. Also, I mean, you said it, the standards and the certification, like what's required to, I mean, we've talked about this in previous episodes, when the standard or the cost of entry is low, right? You don't have to spend a lot of money and a lot of time to get into a career. It brings a lot of troublesome folks and lowers the quality of the experience. And it's funny because if you think about like an attorney, you think about an attorney and you think about a criminal lawyer, regardless if you think attorneys are scummy, they have a level, right? They have a level of, okay, that they're good at what they do. They've gone through the bar. They've gone through all this education. They've been in front of judges. They are very good at one thing. They've reached a certain level. Same with a pilot. Same with a family physician. You can't just go and be like, you know what? I'm going to become a family physician. I'm going to go on Google. I'm going to go on Wikipedia. I'm going to learn a few things, spend $300 on certification, and I'm going to be a doc. Right? It's not like that. It really isn't. So that makes it tough because the cost of entry is super low. You just need to know a few exercises, a few analogies, know a few things about heart rate, and you're good to go. But then that turns into exactly what you're talking about, that you go to a party, you meet with some family or friends, you're like, I'm a personal trainer. And they go, oh, cool. I'm thinking about becoming one of those too. I like exercise, and that's just tough.
Yeah, and it's funny because there's no there's no real reason that we ought to be embarrassed for being in the field as exercise professionals or personal trainers, as we're more aptly called most of the time, because who cares? Like, at the end of the day, does it matter what other people think about us? No, not really. Um, yeah, I mean, it's such a bizarre. Our relationship with ourselves and our identities is so bizarre. And I remember, and this is actually something I picked up from the Certified Muscle Systems Specialist course, and I later went on to read more about it myself in a book called Transactional Analysis, which is this distinction between your identity and your role. And the short form of it, and again, this is overly simplistic, so if you were to go read more about it, it probably wouldn't be wholly accurate. But the whole idea is that we've got this identity, and the identity is who we are. It's our core beliefs, our values, our personality, our characteristics. That's who we are. And our roles are how we act when we interact with different people. And those roles change based on who we're surrounded by and what we're doing. For example, how you and I talk with our clients about exercise, about how to improve their physicality and their well-being is totally different than how you and I interact when it's just you and I as friends, or how we interact with our family members or a random stranger that we meet in a grocery store. These are all totally different roles that we take on. And how we act or are perceived in a role really doesn't mean anything about our identity. You can be a really great personal trainer, or you can be a really poor personal trainer. And how you act in those roles and how you're perceived and how you grow in those roles ought to have no bearing about how you feel about yourself as a person in your own identity. Because in an ideal world, we as human beings are valid just because we're existing. No one should be able to make you feel bad for anything that you've done. Nobody should make you feel bad for liking The Office or for enjoying video games or for whatever nerdy thing that you think is bizarre or weird or quirky that you do. Yet, it's human nature to want to be accepted by the masses, to be accepted by our peers, to be accepted in new social situations. Because if we weren't in times prior, we would be skewered or we'd be outcast from society, and that would really diminish our chances of surviving. But that's not what the world's like anymore. And so I really, at least as a human being, really take this concept of identity and role to heart. And part of, I think, the growth of any fitness professional is recognizing that there's opportunities to improve in your role as a personal trainer. And that means understanding things like anatomy and physics better, but also improving your communication skills, your marketing skills, your business skills, a lot of the things that you actually discuss in our study groups, Brandon. There's an opportunity to get better at all those things, but that doesn't mean anything about who you are as a human being.
See, it's funny. I mean, you brought up some great points in there and talking about identity and role. And if you think about some of the most successful personal trainers, right? In most cases, if you look up online and you look up most successful personal trainers, if you go to LA, you will find tons of personal trainers that are making a ridiculous amount of money and they're really good looking and they do a quote unquote a great job of marketing themselves. And part of that, as Tom Purvis would say, which I love this, is that how many people go to LA to become actors? Right? Even if you're not a good actor, but you can enter the role and be a chameleon to mirror someone else, and you can talk in a one-on-one fashion. And regardless if you're being authentic or not, you can chameleon with them enough that you can deliver the information so they get a lot from the experience, and it's 100% about them for that entire hour, undivided attention, undivided, customized attention. I mean, that's extremely powerful, and that's how there are so many. And you could argue, you could read about this. There are a lot of actors who are relatively insecure and not super confident people. So their identity, right? They quote unquote haven't made it as an actor. They are going up and auditioning all the time to try and get on a commercial or something like that. But they exude confidence when they're in their role as a personal trainer, being with someone right in front of them. And I think that that's a really, really neat thing. But it's interesting because to be a successful professional, right? If you want to be a professional personal trainer, in my opinion, the biggest challenge I've seen from working with, all the trainers here, every trainer I've talked to in the States is not nowadays access to smart information. There is so much great academic information. And first and foremost, if you're listening to this, in my opinion, becoming a better personal trainer is not about learning more exercises. There's two things, well, a lot of things, but two big things. It's about learning the ingredients of the exercise and being competent and aware of the systems you have to use to be a professional, being a business professional. And this is what makes it really interesting, is because if you go back to how people get into personal training, I like exercise, I'm going to become a personal trainer. Great. As a part of you liking being a personal trainer and getting into teaching people about exercise, there has to be a component about you having systems and processes like a business, because you are a business, to get the people that you want to work with into your world. And if you don't know who your target market is, the type of things they like, the things they're afraid of, the things that make them really happy, where they hang out, are they on Instagram, are they at Lululemon, where are they? If you don't know those things, and you don't have the basic systems of how people find you, you intake them into your world and you keep them into your world. And I'm not saying like trick them, but like, how do people find you? How do people get into your process, right? Some sort of assessment with like we do. And then how do you continue to support them for as long as they want to be supported? And how long can you support them with exercise? And I don't see a lot of professionals that are talking about this. So what ends up happening, exactly like you said, we get shoved into this corner with just being exercise enthusiasts. Oh, Glenn, you're a personal trainer? Cool, that's cool. Yeah, I like exercise. And this is what's interesting. I think this is just like driving a car. It is extremely easy to learn how to move a car forward, steer it, and sort of park it. It is not easy to become an incredible driver. It's really easy to pick up a weight or a band, move it till you get tired and go, I exercised, right? And you can say, I like this feeling. I made some changes to my body. I got some abs. I stopped eating so much candy. Now I got abs. But if you turn that around and go, great, getting into exercise, really easy. Becoming a master exerciser and someone who can dispense exercise in a way that looks super easy, like you said in one of the previous episodes that Tom Purvis said, right? A master makes it look easy. And it's because they've taken so much time to learn about all the nuances of all the pieces of this thing that we're doing or whatever else you're doing, that they just make it look simple. So they look at you and they look at Glenn and they look at Brandon, they look at Taylor, they look at anyone else and they go, I could do that. No, you can't. You know what I mean?
It's very tough to work with very specialized populations, and that's why I have a lot of respect for physiotherapists and doctors and other medical professionals who get people who've had multiple hip replacements and might have a disease state that's it's never going away, like cerebral palsy, and be able to work with them. And when I talk to people about personal training and exercise, I really do feel like that's the hallmark of a great personal trainer, is your ability to work with people who are extremely sensitive and have a very high allostatic load, which is to say, their body carries around so much physiological stress that you really have to find the right way to enter into their system to create the right changes, because if you enter in the wrong way, it could be catastrophic for them. And I mean, that's another thing that comes along with being a personal trainer in terms of, I guess almost the embarrassment inside of the field, which is not being able to help people that you really want to help as well. I think we've all had clients come through our doors, which we've tried so many different things. And we're like, I just don't know how to help you. And, and maybe that doesn't necessarily fall in line with the being embarrassed to be a personal trainer, but the embarrassment of not being able to help someone too is also very real.
I think, and pardon me, I got to jump in here because I love that you just said that, because that's another part of this that I think is really tough, is that if you're a person, I think this is you accidentally, when you first become a personal trainer, you accidentally, I think, especially if you're working in a gym, become a jack of all trades, right? You got weight loss clients, you got strength clients, you got Olympic lifting clients, you got clients who are in pain, you got older people, and you got all these different people, and you become a generalist. But the problem is that most of us have a niche, consciously or subconsciously, that we're really good at. And you could even look at all your general clients and go, hey, every time I work with an athlete to get stronger, I get them there really fast and efficient. But my weight loss clients, they're not really losing weight. I'm not really interested in that. My pain clients, my older clients, right? So it's tough, because if you try to help everybody, we just talked about this yesterday, right? If you market to everyone, you try to help everyone, you're not going to be very successful. But if you can work on one niche and you become a specialist in that niche, a professional, right? Coming back to that attorney example, that's fantastic, because what an amazing honor if you go, Glenn, my name's Glenn, and I help people struggling with pain through exercise. And then you have someone that comes in and they're a friend or a family referral and they got weight loss goal, and you go, tell you what, not really my thing, but here's what I can do. Let's give it a shot. You get 12 weeks in, it's not going well, right? You can easily, like in a criminal law attorney, you go, you know what? I don't do family law. I'm sorry. Tell you what, let me help you find someone who can help you better. I think that's just an amazing thing, because that's what all professionals do, is you work with the target market or the people that you can help, and the people you can't help, you confidently and competently refer them out. I love that. Thank you for saying that.
Well, and that's maybe one of the issues with our field, is that because it's such a low bar for entry and the market essentially gets flooded with exercise professionals and personal trainers, that I think the fear that a lot of us have with not being successful, not being able to put food on the table, has us be stuck in that jack of all trades. And like, listen, you got to eat.
Money.
You got to put a roof over your head. You got to feed your kids. You might want to have a couple nice things that you want to buy, because I get it. You don't want just want to have a house with a couch and a television. That's what you do every night. And so what you end up doing is you get stuck in this perpetual cycle of just kind of working with everybody. And I think that's also, probably one of the insecurities that I have is that when people project that onto me at parties, which is, oh, you're a personal trainer, you just help people with exercise. It's like, I get it, like on a very broad stroke, yes. But I work very specialized with people who have pain, discomfort that other health professionals haven't been able to help. And these people don't know what to do next. And, I don't say that lightly, because I do get people where, it's their referral and they haven't seen anybody else, and they see me, we make some great progress. But you and I have both had people where they've seen physiotherapists, they've had surgeries, and no one really seems to know how to help their pain, discomfort go away. And I get it. We're not a panacea. We aren't offering a magic little pill with exercise, but something amazing happens when you change the inputs into the system called your human body, and you improve the muscular contraction quality such that the brain and the body start communicating with itself differently, and it finds different ways of doing things. And the brain begins to start wiring itself differently such that it feels different sensations other than the immense amount of pain that somebody has. I had a client who just messaged me yesterday who for the past 2 months hasn't been able to sleep because she just had pain in her hips and her calf, and it wakes her up every hour. And she messaged me, said, Glenn, for the past week, I've had 2 nights where I've slept over 5 hours in a row, and I couldn't do that before. And the other things I was doing wasn't working. And this isn't magical stuff, but I really can't allow myself to get worked up when people just think that I dispense exercise. And and it grinds it grinds my gears when I see, try this workout at home, and it's like 15 toe taps and then 20 squat to lunges and or some other combination. And in my head, I'm like, well, how is that different from anything else? Like, why don't I just have a deck of cards? Each one has an exercise written on it, and then I just pick out cards and I say, here, you're going to do this, this, and this for your workouts today. How's that any different? I mean, I don't know. I don't know, but you can tell that it makes me a little tense, Brandon. It makes me a little tense.
I've called myself so many different things because
many different things, Brandon.
I mean,
so many different things.
And it's because I'm trying to get people. Whenever I meet with someone from a business sense, I've called myself muscle system specialist, internal performance consultant, biomechanics specialist, personal training consultant, neuromuscular rehabilitative specialist, muscle activation specialist. Like the name, I got lists and lists of names I've called myself. And it's not really because of my own identity crisis. It comes from two things, is that I have been embarrassed to call myself a personal trainer. And two, I wanted to make sure that when I told someone what I did, I wanted the words to help describe the actual thing that I did better. Because I thought that if I said I was a personal trainer, people are going to visualize a specific thing. But if I say I'm a biomechanics specialist, they go, oh, what's that? And that opens this great doorway. The funny thing is that nowadays when someone asks me, well, what do you do? I don't even answer. I say, yeah, that's a great question. What are you looking for? Right. And I find out more about them. And when I talk to people over the phone, I don't really tell them exactly what I do. The whole thing is learning about them and then just relating to how I use exercise to help people like them and to see if it's a good fit or not. But seldom do they go, so what are you? I'm like, well, I don't have to even say that anymore, which is great. It's funny. You reminded me of something. It brings up a story, and I may have told this before. I still think it's a great, very applicable story. I don't want to toot my own horn, but I think I'm pretty good at exercise and teaching exercise. I've been doing this for a while, and I got an okay career at it. We've built this facility and lots of cool stuff. I was on vacation for a family wedding 4 years ago, and at that time, I wasn't training for a show, but my wife was training for a show, and she was shredded, looked incredible shape, and she had someone helping her consulting for nutrition, and she was doing training stuff that we were talking about it from her own knowledge, and it was going really well. She looked awesome. But we were on vacation, and we were talking to some family friends over the table, and they're like, so what do you do? I'm like, well, I own this gym, and I'm a personal trainer, and I work with a lot of different people. And then they look at my wife, and they didn't even ask what they did, and the one person goes, can you train me? I want to look like you. Can you train me? I'll hire you to train me. And it was just one of those moments where I was like, I actually do this as a career. I got lots of assets relating to it, and my wife looks great, and they want to hire her just because she looks great. And I don't want to take anything away from her, but unfortunately, that's a tough part of being a personal trainer, is that in some cases, you could be the best technician in the room, but they could look beside you and go, yeah, but you don't look like that person. I want to look like them. And there's this relationship between if that person looks like how they look, they can make you look like that very easily.
It's a real minefield, and I just can't help but come back to separating the identity from the role. And I know it's human nature to gravitate and trust our visuals over maybe conversation and listening to somebody rationalize out a point. And I think that can be a challenge for us, because some of the best practitioners I know are not the biggest people in the room, and they're not the leanest people in the room. And, part of that reason I think comes down to, it's not exactly super healthy to get down to as low of a body fat as you can and to be ripped and lean all the time. And it's probably unattainable for most people, just given life circumstances and stress. I did a show, and just for me to get down to 10% and come in 5th place out of 6 people, mind you, and the 6th person didn't even look like he worked out. Took a lot of work and a lot of effort. And yeah, I'll digress. It's just amazing how quickly we turn to the visuals versus perhaps rationality and thinking and logic to make our choices and decisions. It's very hard. You have to be very, very conscious, because the brain often does not want to dedicate that subconscious power to finding the right way to do things.
You know, it's funny. After you saying that, I mean, if you think about being a personal trainer, right? It's actually, if you go the mile, right, you try to become like a career personal trainer with a specialty niche, making enough money where you can have a life for yourself. It's actually insanely difficult. Like, it's not a simple road because one, you have to become so competent in exercise and the physics and knowing a lot about the anatomy that you can learn some cool exercises, but at the same time be able to customize them and design exercises along the way. So you've got this whole technical niche that's important, and then you got to be able to communicate all that stuff. Then you need to have some level of business acumen and understanding of branding and marketing and realizing that you yourself are a part of the product and the experience that you're selling along with the results. So you have to have a level of self-mastery and work on all these characteristics that are not even related to exercise, but are lateral to exercise that merge together. Then you have this other variable, which almost no other profession really has to deal with. And it comes down to this kind of star factor of how you look in comparison to all those things, right? Because you could be the perfect, Chris Hemsworth physique body, so to speak, but know nothing about business and know nothing about personal training, but still have personal training clients. So there is this factor of, if you look like a really cool sports car, you're going to help these other parts of your business. But if you think about pilots and physicians, I mean, that's not even on the table, right? How a doctor looks, I mean, someone might go, well, that doctor's overweight and regard it. But in most cases, you're not going to choose another doctor because of that factor. So you've got this factor that other people perceive just by looking at you. Then you've got all these other things you have to learn so much more about. And it's kind of crazy. It's kind of crazy. I mean, sorry, and I don't mean to, but that's, I think, part of the reason why the churn rate for being a personal trainer, like how long people stay in this career, is 3 years. The average career length as a personal trainer is 3 years. And that's sad. But I understand why. I mean, it's nearly impossible to be successful at this thing.
Yeah, and I wouldn't even be surprised if, I don't know if that average is like a mean, median, or mode in terms of the average, but I won't be surprised. I know a lot more people who did it for like a week or 2 weeks or a couple months and couldn't hack it, so to speak. And yeah, it's weird because it is one of these fields where when you think about all of the bodies of knowledge that might be important, the list gets longer and longer and longer. I mean, there is physiology, and then there is a level of anatomy, and then there is a level of marketing, and then there's a level of communication, and then there is a level of, if you want to go down this route, body composition, you have to know nutrition as well. And let alone, there are specialists, like high level specialists, like masters and PhDs, that only deal with a very small portion of one of these things. Like there are people who are registered dietitians who deal specifically with just type 1 diabetes, and that's all they do. Or surgeons who specialize in just doing ACL replacements, that level of specialized knowledge. Yet, as a fitness professional, people have this expectation right off the bat that you can help them with all these different things, and you're some sort of, one size fits all. And boy, that can be a lot of stress and pressure on somebody. It can be a real ton, Brandon.
So, Glenn, why don't we round out today's conversation with this? You've been working as a trainer for a long time, and much like myself and everyone else in Ontario who is a one-on-one personal trainer, we've been smacked by restrictions that the province has put in that influenced our ability to make a living for ourselves, help our clients, market reach, and ultimately continue to grow our business the way that we have for over a decade. What would you say the most challenging part of this entire experience has been for you and your identity as a fitness professional, your role, I should say?
The thing that comes there's two things that really come. First is to be adaptable. And I think being adaptable in this day and age, no matter what profession you're in, is of utmost importance, because information changes so quickly, and because information is so widely available, and circumstances change quickly. I personally did not pivot soon enough to doing online exercise stuff. And to be honest, it's not really even my preference. I think the best results happen one-on-one in person, when you can see the person and take better measurements and therefore make better choices and decisions with the human being you're working with. But if you are restricted to doing online stuff, as we have been with COVID, being able to jump on that and learn how to set up a camera, how to set up lighting, how to ask people to do that for themselves, how to coach and cue from online, how to create programs and write all these different things. You have to be adaptable in order to make that happen in such a short period of time. So the first thing I've learned is, learn to be adaptable. And the second thing that comes to my mind is that you can't be worried about what other people think all the time. It's very easy to fall in that trap with Instagram. It's very easy to fall in that trap with social media. It's very easy to fall in that trap with any kind of comparison. And the more you take a step back, take a couple deep breaths, close your eyes, and think about it, um, and figure out what's going to work best for you and what you need to do for you, the better off you're going to be. I don't think people take enough time to pause and reflect. I think because this is a game now where you've got to really stay on top of everything, people just kind of go into go mode all the time and just get things done mode. And I'm guilty of this myself, that it really benefits somebody to take a second, take a stock of where they're at, where they want to go, reevaluate their options, and then create a new game plan, and then be adaptable enough, as I said previous, to execute said game plan. And like, listen, you're doing you with the best that you got. You're already doing like 80% of the work. From there, it's just making sure that you continue to update yourself and figure out where you want to go. So as long as you're putting one foot in front of the other and you're working, I think persistence will take you a long way. Brandon, I'm going to throw it back to you. Same question.
Well, word the question. What do you want to know?
Well, I want to know what advice you'd give to people, especially if they're fitness and exercise professionals who are struggling when it comes to how they see themselves in the world of exercise and health and fitness, and what it's like for them and their experiences.
In general or during COVID?
Let's talk about in general, but if it comes down to COVID, please say that as well. I mean, I think we're at the tail end of it, but who knows at
Yeah.
this point?
You know what? So I've been honored to work with a lot of trainers in different capacities, trainers that work here and want to grow their business, trainers through biomechanics courses and the muscle specialist course and through other teaching platforms I've been involved with. I've met a lot of trainers over the years, and it does seem that there's a confidence issue around specific elements of growing one's business and practice. And I think it comes down to, in most cases, people became personal trainers through a Good Life or another big gym, where getting in and starting off as a personal trainer is easy because you get certified, you go in, you have people that sell the training for you, and then they give you clients. And that's really great, but you never make a sufficient living. In fact, in most cases, you make less than minimum wage overall because you have spaced appointments. You got a client at 7 a.m., then 10 a.m., and you're at the gym for 4 hours, but you get paid $25 for those 2 hours. So $50 spread over four, it starts to get messy really quick. So I think that's tough because those people go, you know what? I need to make more money than this. I want to do this for a living. They come to that realization, but then it's getting out in front of the world. And it's now, okay, how do people find Brandon? How do people find Glenn? How do people find Bob, Steve, whomever it may be? And whoever you are, there needs to be some getting out in front of people, selling yourself to some degree without it being dirty. And there honestly every way to get out in front of people, as Glenn's done webinars and presentations here. You guys have seen me do the same. Any version of getting out in front of people works. Any version of it works. But what happens, I think, and I've made this mistake because I had someone that kind of was trying to help me out, and because I'm this kind of person, I used every form of marketing stream I possibly could. I was spread too thin, dabbling a little bit in anything. And just like with clients, if you focus on everything, you're not going to get anywhere. You need to focus on 1, 2, or 3 specific things. But getting out in front of people, damn, it's scary, right? Because you're getting out there, you're doing presentations, and you're talking live in front of people about the subject. You're doing a video, and if you see Glenn and I on camera all the time, I'll tell you what, if you ever want to try something in your profession, talk to a camera and try to do it cohesively and smoothly for even 30 seconds. It is gosh darn terrifying to get comfortable talking to this piece of glass here. Scary. And even taking pictures of yourself and putting educational content out there, there's a identity role separation that's tough, right? My biggest fear is people aren't going to take me seriously. My biggest fear is I'm going to fail. My biggest fear, right? There are a lot of big fears around putting yourself out there. But unfortunately, as many of the Shark Tank guys I like to watch would say, if you can't sell yourself, you're in trouble. You're screwed. And I think that confidence, I mean, it's tough because it's easy. It's really easy to be like, hey, you're not feeling confident about getting out there? Just do it, right? It's really easy to say that, but it starts at small levels. What are you afraid of? Are you afraid of failure? Are you afraid of being in front of people? Okay, how can we know what is your macro goal? How much money do you need to make per year? Who are the clients you want to see? And how can you reverse engineer from there? Because if you want to make a crazy number, like say $250,000 a year as a personal trainer, sure, throw that number out there. But if that's where you want to end up, how do you reverse engineer the steps to be a $250,000 a year personal trainer? And if you're not taking any of those steps right now, not waiting for Motivational Monday, right? Like starting now, you won't get there. You got to take the first step. And so in general, I would say that if you want to be a career persons in general, you need to know where you're going, right? You need to know the direction and the destination. And it could be a monetary figure. It could be a building. I mean, whatever you want, right? Like it could be like, this is where I'm going. And then you have to reverse engineer from those steps, just like we do with an exercise plan and anything else. And in my opinion, if you know your fundamental objective, like I want to achieve financial freedom by the time that I'm 60 or whatever it is, right? That's mine, right? By the time I'm 60, I want to have some level of financial freedom so I can honor my time. Good. That drives all of my decision making and trying to get there as efficiently and safe as I possibly can. So if I'm sitting here and I'm not feeling confident about myself and I'm like, okay, I need to get in front of people and do a presentation so I can get more clients, so I can get busier, so I can make more money. And then that way that money can turn into some form of investment, which will turn me to my 60-year goal. Cool. I'm scared to talk to people. Okay. What are you doing to work on that first thing to get all the others? And just saying that I'm going through something, that's fine, but you got to be doing something. You have to take some action. So that was a lot of repetition, but I would say that with this COVID-19 thing, being locked down as a personal trainer, talk about perturbing that journey even more, right? I was talking to a trainer the other day, and Glenn, you'll be able to relate to the story, and they're really good, amazing at one niche. But because the last year hasn't been super successful, was thinking about splitting themselves out and spreading themselves thinner, casting a wider net, as they would say. And from there, we're hoping that they catch a lot more fish. And I understand why COVID would have someone change your plan. But if you reevaluate and that trainer looked back to where they were pre-COVID, it's very clear that the net they were casting, the people, the money they were making, and how they were helping them and where they were helping them, everything was working. Everything was going a great, great direction. But Ontario smacked that in the face and made it very unsettling and decreases confidence, which I totally understand because I've gone through some of this myself in different ways. So at the end of the day, what I would suggest, kind of like you were saying, Glenn, is this time right now, even if we're at the tail end of this gosh darn stupid COVID thing, or there's more to come, use this time to work on skills, right? I think you've seen so many entrepreneurial motivational people say this, work on skills now that'll help you achieve your goal. Because if you know you're where you want to get, and you could have spent even the next month, right? You spend the last year or the next month working on things that help you achieve your fundamental objective and your macro goal. Why wouldn't you do that? Call of Duty's fun. Or you could work on some skills with unpaid time. So when you are making money, you're ready to rock.
Yeah. Or, you could do more of one and then some of the other once you've earned that downtime. I mean, Brent and I don't think are suggesting that you work 24/7, but actions lead to results, I think, is what I took away from that.
Yeah, no. And I would for sure say that. I mean, if you listen to an Elon Musk, I mean, he's someone who is even now, even though he is successful, is still working 18 hours a day. And I think that there are components of, I mean, you can put as much time into this as you want. I think that you could work hard up front so you can work less hard down the road. That's all fine too. But at the end of the day, no matter what, if you're working 1 hour on a goal or 18 hours on a goal, I think that you have to be doing something towards that each day. Making lists. I know we're going to be having someone on who's really, really good at helping with habit development and stuff like that. Glenn's talked about Mel Davis in the past. Like all of this stuff, you got to be doing something. You got to have some actionable plan. And if you're not going, if you don't know where you're going, you're never going to get there. So it's tough. Glenn.
Yes, sir.
What's your pick of the week?
My pick of the week. I appreciate you asking. My pick of the week is Addictive Designs. Addictive Designs is a business that I'm working with right now to help redesign my website, and they've been nothing short of spectacular. They are on board working with me to develop a website and some marketing, some training that's going to help me grow my own business and at Strata, and I'm really looking forward to it. Adrian Martinez is taking the lead on the project with me. Great guy. They do work virtually, so anyone all over the world can work with them, but we are right now kind of combing over the homepage for my website. And I had a call with Adrian earlier today, and he made me feel nothing short of involved in the process. He was really engaged in what we were talking about, the kind of person that you'd actually want to work with if you were looking for an exercise professional. This guy embodies that in his personality. So my pick of the week is Addictive Designs in Bradford, but they'll work with you wherever you're at. That is my pick of the week. Brandon, what's your pick of the week?
Dude, it's Gym Pin.
Gym Pin. What's
Gym Pin? So I did a little Instagram story on this today, and I was introduced to it through an Instagram story of Cassim Hansen for a totally different hammer strength machine. But Gym Pin is quite literally a pin extensor with a regular sized barbell cuff on the end that you can put into a selectorized machine and add additional weight to the machine. And I think it's super really nifty. It is sturdy. It's really great. I actually put an extra 100 pounds on the Nautilus Nitro leg press today and was able to do some reps. It's really, really a simple thing. It just allows you to add extra weight to, in this case, 10 millimeter pin machines. But for our Nautilus Freedom Trainer, a lot of the Nautilus machines, this allows me to add a little bit of extra weight. And it's great. I mean, it sounds a little nerdy and bodybuildish to be like, I can add more weight to the machines now. But at the end of the day, a lot of these machines, because they have resistance modification properties and they're lighter at the bottom and heavier at the top, it's easy, simple, to get strong on them and move a lot of weight. So for the leg press and stuff like that. So this allows me to extend the weight for the Nautilus Freedom Trainer when I'm doing single arm pull downs, the leg press, the Strive chest press, all that stuff. I can now add more weight and now I can get huge. But it's super simple. It's super fun. And if anyone's coming to Strata and you feel like you haven't picked up enough weight, which I don't think there are many, but if you're here and you want more weight, Gym Pin is here.
Amazing, Brandon. So speaking of Strata, we are just north of Leslie and Davis Drive in the Newmarket area. We hope to be open soon, sometime in the next week. We are following all those health and safety precautions to make sure all of our clients are safe and healthy. And when things open up a little bit more broader, we would love for you to come by and check out our facility. You can also check us out on the internet, on our YouTube page, Minds on Muscle, and you can listen to this podcast on iTunes, Spotify, and Podbean.
Strata is the best personal training gym in Canada, hands down, in my biased opinion. Yeah, we'd love to have you. Hey, everyone. So listen, Minds on Muscle podcast. If you're liking this episode, if you found some interesting stuff, please do us a favor. Please share the episode. Give us a 5-star rating. Tell your friends about it. And if you know any cool, smart, knowledgeable professionals in this world that you think would be a real cool guest, because once Glenn and I get back in person, we got some stuff coming your way. Let us know, because we want to interview some cool folks. We got a good list of people, and we're really excited to share more stuff with you. Glenn, thanks so much, man, and happy belated Valentine's Day.
Happy belated Valentine's Day to you, my bro, friend, lover.
Bro, friend, lover. All right, everybody, thanks so much for listening. Talk to you soon.
Salutations.